Hello, fight fans. Hello, fight fans. Back in this thing, another edition of Boxing Chit, another edition that is number 33 here. Can you believe it? Number 33. What's going on? Boz representing Boxing Haven and all things otherwise boxing. But how are you
Yeah,
doing out there, man?
yesterday was a nice, like crisp for autumn day, but today it's again very gray. It's been mostly like that the last couple of weeks, but yeah, it's all right. It's a little bit warmer now. It was also rather cold for a while.
Okay. I got you.
Mm.
Yeah, we're getting a little chilly out here in the DC area as well as other parts of the US, I'd imagine. So
All right.
it's starting to look a
Mm.
little bit like your weather. So I feel you without a doubt.
Interesting. I reckon that down south it's a pretty different weather in Florida and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Some of those areas they do have it is a little bit more warm there.
Tropical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting a bit of that tropical feel, like you mentioned, all of that good stuff. But hey, it's never any weather that isn't good enough for some boxing. And turns out that we had a good bit of it this past weekend as well. So we're here to
Mm.
discuss some of that as always. So many cards, so many events going on at the same time in all actuality. So of course we can the best we can to assess it based on what we were able to see at once, and that is one of those things with boxing. I guess it happens with other sports as well. You tend to have some games that are just going on at the same time as others, so then you have to sort of pick and choose, and that's essentially what it was last night to a certain degree, I would say.
Mm.
Shout out to Martin Dunstan. Says, hello, fellas. Hope you are well. Well, we're
Hey,
good here, Martin.
what's up, Martin?
And we appreciate you dropping in, buddy. Yes, we're good. Just holding it down,
Yeah.
ready to talk some of this boxing action. I'm sure you caught some of it as well. As a matter of fact, taking that into account, how about we start with the card that was over in the UK featuring Katie Taylor as she
Glenn.
was again headlining her undisputed lightweight title defense against Elizabeth Carabajal or Carabajal, depending
Yeah,
on how you want to
Carabajo.
pronounce
Yeah.
Carabajal, who was
Mm.
an Argentine fighter who was undefeated coming in at, I believe, 19-0, and this was a battle of the undefeated. Essentially, we got to see two of the top undefeated females out there. And really quick shout out to my mom. Says, "Hey son and Boz, blessing to you both. Happy Sunday. We appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for
Thank
tuning in.
you.
As always, we appreciate it. Glad to
Yeah.
have you here. But yeah,
Always.
undisputed lightweight title fight. Katie Taylor, she's been on a heck of a run, and Carbajal, I wasn't too familiar with her to be honest with you. So she was undefeated.
Yeah.
I think she had about five knockouts, maybe two knockouts. I remember it's one of the other in 19 fights. So I
Mm.
didn't know what the expectation would be, and it turned out to be a pretty solid victory for Katie Taylor, who came in confident, coming off the heels of, I believe that fight with Amanda Serrano was a previous one for her, if I'm not mistaken. But Katie fights pretty
Yeah.
often, which I do appreciate, and that was
Mm.
one of those fight of the year type candidates there. And so this was her jumping back in the mix, taking on Carbajal, who came in game. You never know with some of these fighters out of, say, some of the Latin countries who come in with undefeated records. Some of them tend to be the real deal. Other times there are those who don't turn out to be very much the real deal, and their records a little bit
Mm.
blown up. In the case of Carbajal, I think she was game throughout, and she tried to do her best, but
Yeah.
Katie Taylor was never in doubt as far as the decision was concerned, from my perspective, and she pretty
Mm.
much handled it with relative ease. Of course, I'd imagine nothing's truly easy in the sport of boxing, but as far as title defenses are concerned, this is probably going to be one of the smoother ones that she could get, especially at this stage. And I did end up giving Carbajal one round. I think she was pretty much a straight up and down type fighter. Like I mentioned, game.
Mm.
She took some good shots and all of that stuff, but ultimately, Katie Taylor just had a bit of too many wrinkles to her game, and Carvajal
Yeah,
couldn't exploit anything at all on her. So I don't know if you were able to catch it, Boz, but that being
yeah,
said, give me your thoughts.
yeah. Luckily, I was able to catch it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a pretty solid, fight. I mean, Carvajal, her aggressiveness, made it pretty watchable. And but there was, of course, you could see a clear difference in both experience and boxing skills or pedigree. I might say, Katie Taylor was really boxing very nicely, very clever, and counter punching well. Even though she got tagged quite a bit, but these weren't really such big hard punches. I know that she was hit by. I remember very well a good left hook somewhere in the seventh or eighth round. She seemed to kind of tire in the last couple rounds, but she won without a doubt. I think Carvajal probably deserved to at least one or maybe two
Yeah.
rounds. Even on one judge gave her 2 rounds actually. So sorry. Yeah, she put up a good fight, but all in all, she was kind of outboxed, and Katie Taylor just proved once again that she deserves to be number one in her division, and I think she will be pretty dominant for a while now. I mean, pretty long. I most likely, yeah, because I don't see so many in that division, unless she steps up that are able to beat her.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's how I see it.
Good to go. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you there. And I was actually going over to look at my card. I did score this fight-score.com, which is fight night scores. Be sure to check that out,
Yeah,
people, if you haven't. A great scoring platform there, and it's probably the most comprehensive scoring platform in the sport. So I was looking back. I had all rounds for Taylor except the sixth round. So I wonder if that's where sort of that turn was, but I'd imagine a couple of those other ones there
yeah.
on that back end could have
But
gone her
I
way.
now remember Carabao. Maybe that's the round where Carabao she
Yeah,
had like Taylor against the ropes, and she landed a good combination.
yeah,
That's probably that round. Yeah,
yeah. I believe it was. I
yeah,
believe it was that round. Martin Dunson says he didn't see the Taylor fight. He was getting ready for Loma, Loma indeed, and we certainly will get to the great Vasiliy Lomachenko. But yeah, I think we're both are kind of in the same page with Carbajal, and I'd imagine just from a general perspective with fight fans and those who are watching, they probably saw it in a similar fashion. So
Hmm.
hey, maybe Carbajal. There are probably some other fights out there for her, so maybe we'll get to see her
Yeah.
again. I don't think she had overall bad performance. I thought she did what she could
No.
do, and Taylor just was a level above in this case. But she probably
Yeah.
hit some other opponents a fight, so I wouldn't mind seeing her again.
Hmm. Yeah, Taylor is not a puncher. She's a boxer, definitely. But she's also
Yes,
tough, as we saw when she
yeah,
fought.
Amanda
What's her?
Serrano.
Yeah, Amanda Serrano. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, she can definitely take a good punch, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
you're right. And I thought it was her boxing ability that gave her the nod over Amanda Serrano,
yeah,
who
yeah,
at one point seemed like she almost had Katie Taylor out of there. But as far as the rounds accumulated, definitely Katie Taylor was boxing very well in that fight. And speaking of, that seemed to be on the radar as far as what's next for Katie Taylor. So I guess the expectation she will probably come back at some time early in
mm,
2023. And if she does, then one of the big fights, of course, is that rematch with Amanda Serrano. Now, the expectation, at least, is that it will be in Belfast. I guess Katie hasn't fought there in a while, or at least since her early days as a pro. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it has been a good minute. if she has fought there since she's been a champion. I don't know that she's fought there since she's been a champion, actually, but
Mm.
maybe she has. That being said, that seems to be one of the bigger fights, not just in women's boxing, but in the sport in general, because I think a lot of people were clamoring for that rematch because it was an exciting fight. It was a major event, and it lived up to the hype
Yeah.
this last time around. And I think that they have the potential to do the same with this rematch because stylistically, I think they're just tailor made, no pun intended, for each other. So I would
Yeah,
certainly
exactly.
love to see that, especially in Belfast. And you know that the crowd and the fans are going to be deep into it, especially considering they'll
Mm.
be rooting for Katie Taylor and happy to
Yeah.
see her back in the mix there in our hometown. So
Mm.
hopefully we get that. What are your thoughts on that rematch?
Yeah, I would like to see it, of course, because the first fight was so close, and people were some were saying that Serrano got robbed, and so I think many want to see a rematch, and I guess Katie Taylor wants to prove that she did really win there and that she can beat Serrano without a doubt. I think the problem for Serrano, she can punch, but she's too small, to really, knock out Taylor. I guess that was the big difference there, the
Yeah,
size, because Serrano is a featherweight, right, and
yeah,
Taylor is a lightweight. So there is a there. It's not a big difference, but there is a difference between those two, in size and their natural fighting weight and all that. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I think that rematch would have been worth watching definitely. And then in Belfast, with that crowd, going wild, as they usually do, would have been quite a spectacle, of course.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, yes, without a doubt. And actually, I just looked it up, and it looks like Katie actually hasn't fought in Belfast as a pro. And
yeah, because she's from Ireland. I mean, the Republic of Ireland. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so she's been building up her actual record and fan base and all of that stuff in England,
yeah,
which is of
she's
course a hotbed for boxing fans. I think they have probably the best boxing fans as far as atmospheres are concerned.
yeah,
And when you have one of those shows over there, I mean, they're definitely
yeah,
into it, and we got to see it last night.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of same as in Scotland, these kind of Celtic countries. It's really they love fighting. I mean, it's fighting sports, especially boxing, of course.
Yeah, 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 without a doubt. And Martin Dustin says shame Clarissa Shields is at 75 kilograms and
Yeah,
Taylor at
that's
61. And of
too
course,
big.
for Americans like myself, we had to do that conversion, but pretty much 160 and 135. So we're talking about a pretty significant difference weight
You
wise as far
know,
as boxing is concerned.
I
And
think even yeah,
yeah,
even if Shields is not a puncher, I think she could have stopped Taylor because such a big difference there.
yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Certainly. It would certainly be cool if they were closer in weight. I feel that
Mm.
Clarissa Shields probably can't get any lower than 154 without completely draining herself. And as far as Kaylee Taylor, of course, she would have to move up to I guess 154. I just don't see Clarissa Shields getting down to 147 in a safe manner, just given her
Mm.
size and build. But also, it would probably not be bode as well for Taylor as well, being at that higher weight, considering she's not necessarily a puncher to that degree. She
No, no,
does
no.
get work in through accumulation, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just such a gap that it's unfortunate that two of these great female boxers and boxers in general are pretty much on the same path and trajectory, regarded as the two best in the sport,
Hmm.
and the two best in their division or around their division
Yeah.
without a doubt, and they beat pretty much everyone else who was one of the best in and around their division. But unfortunately, due to size, yeah, that one's likely not going to happen. And we can, of course, always throw out the fantasy matches.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Those two are the best. I mean, alongside Baumgartner and
Yeah, yeah.
Mayer, yeah. So
Dan Serrano.
yeah,
Yeah.
Serrano, yeah. So because still, female boxing has not still reached, that kind of level where they have many stars. They are really worth watching on like pay-per-view, something like that. So they
Yeah.
cannot put together so many pay-per-view worthy fights. But yeah, there are a few, but they are not all in the same division, unfortunately. So
So yeah, it's gonna be tougher sledding for Clarissa Shields to find a big opponent because I think it's even more thin as you get up in weight as far as the competition is concerned. But for Katie
yeah,
Taylor, at the very least, we have the potentials for some Bomb Gunner, Michaela Mayer matchups, as
yeah,
well as some of the others in or around there. Potential for a rematch with Jessica McCaskill, who's one of the best, and I think she's looked great in her last several fights. So there's definitely a lot more
yeah,
potential
McCaskill,
down
yeah.
there at a lot more potential down there at 135 for the women, but certainly for Caressa Shields after she's now defeated Savannah Marshall. I don't know what's really out there for her. Maybe a rematch with Savannah Marshall, who started to come on late and do
Oh
a bit
yeah.
better, but I don't know if it
So
would generate that same type of buzz unless it's over in England again.
I think I heard some kind of talk where there is kind of possibility that I think it was Taylor that she could move up and fight McCaskill in future, and that would be
Oh yeah,
like a really big one, big fight, and of
yeah.
course, yeah, that could
Yeah,
be done.
yep, and this would be a rematch for them, and I think that McCaskill certainly is better now than when they first fought. The same can be said about Katie Taylor. So, of course, she's more battle tested now than when they first fought as well. So that would be a pretty interesting one, and definitely on the offensive end. So
Mm.
maybe that is something that could come about right now. Jessica McCaskill, I believe next week is going to be taking on Chantel Cameron, who is another
Oh,
fighter who has looked
yeah,
pretty good, and so they're going to
I
be
like.
fighting. Yeah, I believe next week. So even with the two of them, whether for the winner or loser, there's still a lot of potential matchups that could
Mm.
sprout from that. So hopefully we get to see a good contest when these two face off. Uh,
Yeah,
I believe it's next
Chantel.
week.
Chantel really impressed me, when she fought last year
Yeah.
against Mary McGee. That's the name.
Oh yeah. She pretty much dominated. She pretty
Yeah,
much dominated her. Got to give her the props for that.
yeah. And she really likes, she's pretty aggressive, likes a good fight, good scrap, and she is tough. She's also not such a hard hitter, I guess, but she has scored a few, well, maybe stoppages, but I mean,
Yeah,
few women are actually. Let's be realistic. Few female
yeah,
boxers can really hit, hard, to really
yeah,
hard. So it's
yeah.
like maybe Alicia Baumgartner and I don't know, maybe Serrano in her own weight class, I guess. Yeah.
And
So
Savannah,
that's
she's Savannah Marshall.
Savannah.
She's
Yeah.
had pretty
Also,
decent power.
that's
Uh,
right. Yeah, she's the puncher, definitely. Yeah.
and then with the 2 minutes, it kind of changes the dynamic a little bit more as well. Because I'd imagine
She's.
we'd see more stoppages at 3 minutes. Therefore, I
Mm,
mean that aside, I think also you would see
yeah.
more vulnerability as far as the fighters if it were changed to 3 rounds. Because I
Yeah.
don't
I
know that
mean, it's
it'll
true.
be beneficial for everyone, but certainly those at the elite level, I think they'd be able to adapt and adjust just like that. But maybe that change won't happen until there are deeper weight classes across the board, or the weight classes
Mm.
are deeper across the board.
Yeah, I think that 2 minute thing really makes it harder, for women boxers to score knockouts. And if you look at male boxing, I think most actually stoppages come after 2 rounds, after 2 minutes in that round.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, actually, yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. Certainly, and except for cases when it's those big punchers out there, but I think you're definitely correct in that sense. So yeah, that would be a game changer. But yeah, I wouldn't. And I know some people feel different about it, and some people want to see it go to 3 rounds, and even some of the females want to see it go to 3 rounds,
Yeah,
or 3 minute rounds rather.
three
But
minutes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know that I'm necessarily for it at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Because I
yeah.
just
I
feel
don't
like,
know.
yeah, across the board, I just think that some of the weight classes they're just not deep enough, and I don't know. But maybe this is a means that would kind of build up some of those weight classes where we don't see these fighters. But then, that being said, I still think there's still some build up and that needs to happen just
Hmm.
overall because we do have some big names and some great strides have been made, but certainly at the top end of the female boxing, there's not a ton of big names out there, and really not a ton of fighters, female wise, in those
Yeah.
divisions. Like the heavyweight division, I'd imagine it's very scarce in terms of the amount of women there. When I last
Oh
checked,
yeah.
and most of
That's
them
true.
is typically under 100 boxers just worldwide that are in some of these female divisions.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. I know. I was thinking it's either like maybe they could extend to 12 rounds instead of introducing 3 minute rounds. That would be.
Yeah, I'd rather it go that route, certainly, especially if for like say championship fights and things of that nature. I think that would
Yeah,
be probably a more appropriate means to go about it. And that in
yeah,
theory would only be an extra 4 minutes that's added on as opposed to if you add
yeah.
an extra 10 minutes overall, you know?
So, yeah, that would be pretty. I mean, I don't know if it would help increase the number of
Yeah.
stoppages, but I think it's kind of fair because since it's usual that we in male boxing always watch 12-minute fights and 12 round fights, and here it's like only 10 rounds, so it's kind of strange just that feeling that it's after 10 rounds it's over. It's a championship fight, It's kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff, man. Without a
Hmm.
doubt. I'm sure we could go on. We might have to do a show in its entirety. This, you know what I'm saying? But I did want to move on to the undercard because I got to give 100% top
Yeah.
notch props to the man known as Kiko Martinez. This dude continues to defy time. I mean, stylistically, he's just like a rugged old school warrior. You know, there's no thrill, splash, and pizzazz to it. He just goes in there, head down or chin tucked, swinging his punches. You can just tell that he's a solidly built guy. He's on the shorter
Yeah.
side, but it doesn't matter because he's so compact with those punches and he knows how to put them together pretty well. So he took on Jordan Gill, who was coming off of an exciting fight in his last fight. I had to be reminded when they showed the highlights of it. It was a very exciting fight. I forget the guy he was
Yeah.
taking on in that previous fight, but I think the European title was on the
Karim
line then.
Gerfi, that his name is.
Gerfi, yeah, that was a
Yeah.
crazy fight because I remember him getting DDT'd, and I saw that replay again, and it showed that, and I was like, man, the Gill, yeah, he came through some stuff in that one, but of course that
Yeah.
wear and tear, it didn't work out for him in this fight because
No.
he was moving pretty well. It seemed early on, but the thing about it is when he was getting caught by Martinez, he was getting caught flush, and that's why we saw the damage that
Mm.
he had taken at that particular time. His nose bloodied, eyes black. It's just like when he did get caught, it was just flush shots from Martinez right at the perfect distance.
Yeah.
It's almost like how when Joey Lewis used to land back in the day, it'd be those short punches that just caught you right on the button. And I feel like that's what happened with Jordan Gill. And I think his corner was
Yeah.
right for throwing in the towel because I don't think it would have gotten any better for him at that particular stage.
Yeah, I mean, he was just not able to take those punches, and I guess he was. I gave him the first 2 rounds. He was definitely better in the first 2 rounds, and he was
Yeah.
landing some good punches and stuff. But the minute Kiko started unloading his his guns, he was like, he just would either be like seriously hurt or he would go down. So he's I don't know why. He's, I guess, a longer, skinny guy.
Yeah.
And but still, I think he sometimes fell a little bit too easily. I don't know why, but maybe he's still just not a big featherweight in that sense. That he's very strong and resilient. So maybe he should consider if he can moving down actually to super bantamweight. Because to
Yeah,
be stopped by a guy like 36-year-old, even though he hits hard, I think he's still I
yeah,
mean, it doesn't look well for him in future either. If he
yeah.
could be stopped like this in 4 rounds by a guy who is past his best. So
Yeah, yeah. Kiko at this point, yeah, certainly that experience factor for him that keeps him going and keeps
yeah,
him
and
in these
power.
like yeah, the experience these powers. I'm looking at him. He's 44 and 11 and 44, 11 and 2, 37 knockout, 31 knockouts. It's 44 victories. But if you look at in terms of his resume, yeah, it's definitely a who's who over the years. He's been in with some of the best in
Yeah,
the world at varying points. And like they were saying during the broadcast, you can't duplicate experience. That's something
hmm,
that happens right there. Or I could be mixing that with the Loma Ortiz broadcast, but same thing applies with Jordan Gill. Despite
yeah,
him looking good at times, of course, this was probably his toughest test from an experience standpoint, even though he had been there doing some good things on the Commonwealth British stage and then the
yeah,
European stage. So this was a European. So this was his test to see if he was going to be able to handle things at that world level. And we know that Kiko Martinez has been there and remains there essentially. And I
hmm.
think Gil was a little bit short. He is the taller fighter. So yeah, maybe a move down. Let me see, how old is he? He's 28.
28, I believe.
28. So yeah, it's
Oh,
gonna be
hmm.
yeah, I'd imagine. I don't know what his weight cuts and things of that nature are like.
Well, it's possible still. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
before
possible.
before the age of 33 or something, it's kind of still rather easy, I think.
Yeah, 8 knockouts in those 27 victories. So he is not a big puncher. So he
No,
definitely has to
despite
do it. Yeah, he has to
despite
do it
that
boxing.
knockout in his last fight before this,
Yeah, that
he
was a
was
perfectly set up punch at the right time.
yeah. It was just a matter of throwing the perfect punch at the right time, and but
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't look like a guy. I mean, he was hitting Martinez with some good punches last night, but he didn't really. They didn't have any effect really. It looked like
Yeah.
they didn't hurt him. So
Yeah. Martinez was walking through them for the most part, and I also got the sense that Gil, like you mentioned, in the first 2 rounds, he looked pretty good. He was moving well, but I just saw the way that he was moving. It just didn't seem like something he would be able to sustain for the entire fight because of the fact
yeah,
that Martinez is pretty good at cutting the ring off. So he was going to have to essentially be moving and dancing around for 12 rounds, which was going to be
yeah.
tough.
So this was a test, to see if he can fight at a higher level, and he failed that test. So it's back to domestic level for him for now,
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. They're definitely going to have to match him well to kind of see where he goes from here. And hey, who
Hmm.
knows? In all actuality, hey, he won the European featherweight title, which
Yeah,
says a lot in terms of being able to domestically reach the top of the pinnacle. It's just a matter of we'll see how he continues to look moving forward, and if he can build himself into that fighter who is
hmm.
a world level, world class type fighter.
He's got some ability, definitely, and I like the
Yeah,
way he moves and throws punches, and he's a pretty skilled fighter. But
yeah. He
I
is.
guess I guess even though Kiko is a rather hard hitting guy, heavy handed, but still, the way he was like, he just couldn't take his punches at all. It
Yeah. You're
was
right.
very
And he's tough.
apparent.
Yeah, Gil was without a doubt tough. If he's shown anything
Tough.
in his last two fights, he's a very tough guy. He's game, and he's not the give up type.
Yeah, tough, but just not, strong enough to take those punches better.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too tough for his own good as
Yeah,
well.
and he also, you could see he got cut pretty badly around the eyes,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it looked
So
like his nose might have been broken, but I'm not sure if that was the case. I
yeah,
hadn't looked into any follow up, but yeah, he definitely took some damage there, like as mentioned,
yeah,
because he was taking some flush punches.
yeah. But he is tough. He got hard definitely, and he wasn't. It was his trainer that stopped the fight, and I was like, at
Yeah,
first, you shouldn't have stopped it yet. But now that I think about it, yeah, I don't think he could have come back,
yeah. I
because
think that was his like third or fourth time getting up,
fourth,
maybe. Okay,
and he
fourth.
wasn't able to hurt Kiko. If he had been,
No,
maybe
definitely.
his trainer would have let him go on. Maybe there would be a chance that he could turn it around. But no, didn't look like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah. Yeah, so that does open up the door for Kiko Martinez. Don't count him out yet. At 36
yeah,
years of age, salute, fellow
but
Olympians out there doing the thing.
yeah, I think the Warrington fight, I think, proved that he is. I mean, against the very best, I don't think he can win anymore. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So there was talk of that. There was talk of the potential for another Warrington fight, but I do think that Mauricio Lara should be next in line for
yeah.
Warrington.
And that was weird how Warrington was able to hurt him, in that fight. That was like, what? He's not a
Yeah,
puncher, this guy. Why is he, doing this to him? How is he able to do that? I guess
yeah.
he,
It is pretty interesting.
yeah. But Lee Selby, for instance, I know that he was a pretty good puncher first when he started. When he was fighting, well, that was at domestic level. But then when he was fighting, for the world title, he just couldn't knock out anybody. That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I guess that happens for sure. Yeah, you're right, Warrington. Yeah, he doesn't have a ton of knockouts, but he's put together
Yeah,
some nice
like
punches in fights and stuff.
7 or 8, I think, something like that. Like
Yeah, so yeah,
31, 32 win, I don't know, something like that.
yeah. So styles certainly make fights, but
Yeah.
yeah, I certainly want to see Warrington versus Lara. But hey, Kiko, he's
Wow.
right in there in the mix, and
Until
he
now, yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
he keeps
until
himself there.
somebody knocks him off out again, yeah. Yeah, I
No,
mean, he's a warrior, that's for sure, yeah.
yeah, I was trying to think of who would be a good fight for Kiko Martinez and
Or Kiko Martinez. Well, who else do we have?
so yeah, I'm
There are
looking at so you have Laura
some Japanese guy.
yeah.
Nakatani, is he a featherweight? Yeah, I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, Nakatani. Is he
Yeah,
he's at that weight?
Nakatani. Yeah, Masayoshi. Let's see. No, he's a lightweight. All right.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
because he's the one who gave Tiafimo a tough fight and Lomachenko beat him. But you
Oh,
have
yeah.
like you have some guys out there,
There are two actually Nakatani. So one is a flyweight. They are brothers, I guess. Junto is a flyweight, and Masayoshi is a lightweight. So yeah,
yeah,
just
maybe
found
yeah.
out. Hmm.
Yeah, maybe we could get a yeah, there's yeah, I don't even know who with Kiko Martinez, to be honest. I see a bunch of names out there, but man, it's hard to even
Hmm.
say who. I guess just throw a
Yeah,
couple names in a hat, and pretty much I think he's gonna do what he does. But I think he'll be good
maybe
test for anyone.
maybe fight Kid Galahad again. Who knows?
Yeah, Galahad, hey, he was on a little trajectory, but then he's gotten a
Yeah,
rude awakening here as of late.
yeah, he looks pretty damaged actually to me now. He was
Yeah,
when he lose. He also his last fight by knockout. I guess I don't know who it was, but I
yeah, he
think
did recently lose.
um,
Yeah, I had to look it up, but yeah, this was recently as well, very
hmm,
recently. Salute to Hyphy. He says, peace. Shout out Hyphy. Appreciate you jumping in, buddy. Been a minute. Glad to see you here. Without a doubt. Hyphy also says Josh Warrington is one fighter I don't care for. He's ready to be KO'd next time he fights a live body. Hey, that may very well be the case right there, Hyphy. I want to see him in there with Mauricio Lara. It's crazy how things work out. That Warrington, he was able to pick up that
Maurice.
title from Kiko Martinez, but Mauricio Lara looked good in his last fight. And man, hopefully we get that one. I know Warrington is fighting, I guess, here next month or something like that.
All
So
right.
it'll likely be 2023, but I think definitely that third matchup is like what needs to happen. And we get to see where Warrington is mentally and see
Yeah,
if he can
31.
keep that
Wow.
trajectory going.
He's 31 right now, it says here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that would be a
fighting,
good one.
yeah. This guy, I think I heard of him, Luis Alberto Lopez. Lopez.
Okay, Luis Alberto Lopez.
All
Okay.
right, he beat Isaac Love actually by knockout. That guy. All
Oh,
right.
okay, okay. Yeah, I remember Isaac Lowe. Was that in his that was a couple fights ago. Yeah, he was the first one. I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
Tyson Fury and company were all there rooting for Isaac Lowe. He was kind of the
yeah,
guy
that
there.
was last December the third.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. Oh, he also beat Gabe Flores. Yeah, yeah, this guy, yeah, he's pretty solid. So
Hmm. That's
hey,
gonna be that's gonna be a good one. I started to talk like that's a gonna be like in Italian suddenly.
yeah, yeah, he's been in with some pretty solid names, Lopez that is. So yeah, this should be a good test for Warrington, and hopefully the winner, we get to see them with maybe Mauricio Lara, or maybe they'll do the Kiko Martinez thing again. Time
Yeah, I
will
mean,
certainly tell.
yeah, Warrington. His problem is that he cannot once he isn't successful with like imposing himself on a fighter, then he doesn't have a plan B. He gets knocked
Yeah,
out. So
yeah,
that's why.
yeah. So he's gonna have to bring his A game without a doubt here forward if he's looking to maintain that sort of status that he has. But definitely he brings the fanfare when he's fighting in leads, and it is a pretty solid atmosphere.
Mm. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
mean he's got some solid wins so far on his record. I mean against Frampton and Selby, so and Kiko
Yeah.
himself twice actually. So. Mm,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And the Frampton fight, that was a great one right there. I remember it was action
mm,
and it was very live in there, great atmosphere.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
gave him
It's
some
like
big props with that one.
he gets he's fortunate he can fight at home in Leeds, and you know how those
Oh yeah,
supporters are really famous. I mean for being
yeah,
very like
yeah. He seems to
strong.
thrive off of it very well.
Yeah, I was just watching a documentary about the Leeds football team and all that.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I like their colors. That sort of powder
Yeah.
blue and yellow gold or marigold. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
those club. Yeah, that's right. They usually play in white, but sometimes also in blue and yellow, something like that.
Without a doubt. Shout out to Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. Salute, Bruce. Hey, appreciate you dropping in. Hey, if you haven't checked him out yet, be sure to check out Bruce Gas. I'm telling you, entertaining stuff. He was just out in Pennsylvania. There was an event out there. A lot of historic boxers out there, heavyweights, if I'm not mistaken, the likes of Riddick Bowe, Tim Witherspoon, etc.
Oh
So
yeah.
salute to Bruce. He
Mm,
probably has some stuff up on his page regarding that right now. So be sure to check him out. Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed.
mm.
So yeah, that was the main stuff on that card. Other than Cully, this guy Cuddly, he's an Irish fighter. Gary Cully, he
Yeah,
looked pretty good. He got a first round knockout uh,
yeah. That was
yesterday.
also this new kind of heavyweight hope, Johnny Fisher. He also fought, and but that was
Oh yeah,
just.
that is right. Yeah, Johnny Fisher. Yeah, he has a lot of hype around him, or he has fanfare at least.
Mm,
They're pretty solid out there. That fanfare
yeah,
definitely turns out for him.
yeah. We'll see. I mean, he fought some guy from Czech Republic, I believe, that had a 7-4 record, but he knocked him out in two
Yeah,
minutes. So that's
yeah.
what you can expect.
It's an exciting 2 minutes. Yeah, he was winging away there, and he was
Yeah.
landing some good stuff. I think he was definitely going to knock dude out. So the referee stepped in just before that, which I have a problem with. This
Mm,
dude was pretty wobbly anyway. So Johnny Fisher, definitely an exciting one to see, and you can tell he's
mm,
putting in that work. So hopefully he continues to develop well, and he could be one of those names at that world stage in the heavyweight division, which would be an added
maybe.
plus.
Yeah.
Fanatic
Maybe
was
he's a
without a doubt.
strong guy. I mean, he's big, but not like gigantic. That's what I like. He's like 6'4".
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Johnny freaking Fisher. But yeah, he's good to go. And then Ellie Scottney, who I've seen box a number of times, she picked up a European title,
yeah,
and
that's a
she looked
nice.
pretty good.
I
I
mean,
think she's very
yeah,
solid. She's a very solid
yeah.
boxer.
I saw that fight. Well, more or less. I didn't maybe watch entire time, like, but I did. I just can say that. Yeah, she looked pretty good and kind of
Yeah,
sympathetic looking woman. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. So yeah, she should be matched up. Bruce Gas says I met them all, and he got a bunch of numbers for some fantastic guests in the next few weeks. Check out
Mm.
Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz. Some great interviews there, and the fighters really actually share rare stories, stuff you haven't heard, and really open up because Bruce Gas gives them that warm, that real feel, and that's what
Mm.
you ask for when you're in those types of interviews. So good
That would
stuff.
be. I don't know how I would, have behaved if I was gonna meet those guys, Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield. I would be like, very nervous, like, "Oh, hello, nice to meet you."
Yeah. Certainly, yeah. Some of them are pretty down to earth.
Oh yeah,
So that
I
helps.
I've seen them like sitting. Bo was sitting like in this gym, and Evander was standing up talking, telling a story. That was like, oh, that makes you remember these guys are just like anybody else. That's just that they had this career.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, well, yeah. Always some great stories, and I'm sure more will definitely be revealed in some of those interviews there with Bruce.
yeah,
So salute, without a doubt. And all right, so that was the UK card. Of course, we can go to another big card that was on last night. As a matter of fact, the return of Vasiliy
oh,
Lomachenko, who
oh,
was, of course, a Ukrainian fighter, and he's been out for, I guess, nearly a year, if not a year. And he was making his return. We all know what's going on in Ukraine. Salute to those
yeah,
over there fighting and defending their turf. So Lomachenko, hey, this was his return after being in war, and the war is still going on. He said he's returning back, but hey, this
mm,
turned out to be a pretty tough fight. He was taking on Jermain Ortiz, who was actually a fighter who, at least I became aware of in his last fight when he took out Jamel Herring, or he defeated Jamel Herring in a pretty thorough fashion. I thought that it was all Ortiz the entire fight, and and Jamel Herring ended up retiring after the fight, but Ortiz looked pretty good. And the question was, how was he going to look in there with a guy like Vasiliy Lomachenko, who, coming off a layoff or not, is most certainly one of the best boxers in the sport, period. So it's a matter of is
yes,
Jermain Ortiz ready for this stage? And I will say that, man, he looked pretty darn good. He's tough. This is a tough fighter. He's fundamentally sound. He's an athletic fighter. He has a good mix of just about everything. And
mm,
I thought it showed last night. And he was able to hang in there with Vasiliy Lomachenko throughout the fight, especially in the early and middle rounds where it was pretty close. I think the thing that gave the fight to Lomachenko for me was probably the last 2 to 3 rounds where I thought Lomachenko started to land a bit cleaner, but it was very close coming into that part of the fight. And
mm,
I think Jermaine Ortiz had a pretty big show, a good showing for such a big stage for him at this particular juncture. And I know we'll see him again. I know we'll definitely see him again, and I think he'll match up well with a lot of other fighters that are out there. But Lomachenko, it took him a little bit to get things really going and moving. Of course, he's 34 now, 34,
yeah,
closer to 35, I believe, as a matter of fact. And
mm,
but he still looks like he has that movement. He still looks like he can. He'll be a problem for anyone, and I do think that
yeah,
size wise, man, Ortiz was bigger than I thought. I guess I couldn't really tell with Herring, who is a taller lightweight. at I believe he's like 5'11" or something like that. But
Hmm.
Ortiz, yes, size wise, he's pretty solidly built young man. And hey, Lomachenko, hey, he was in rough, but he did what he needed to do there, especially coming on in the latter part of the fight to be able to pull off a split or no, it was a unanimous decision. I had it 115, 113. I scored it on Fight Night scores, which I thought was pretty fair in terms of the contest.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I expected. I didn't think that he would really dominate all the way, Lomachenko. Because it was his first fight after all this had happened. Some pretty extreme. Been through some pretty extreme stuff. And been out of the ring for a while. And but as you say, in the end, that speed and athleticism, it just doesn't go away. It's
Yeah,
it stays there until at least until he gets older and yeah, kind of shop worn. But he's not that yet. Thank whoever you want. Thank
yeah,
and yeah. So yeah, I didn't really watch the fight yet, but I don't know if I want to. Well, I will. I'll try to find at least some highlights, but I think yeah, I kind of expected, as I said, it to go like to him to kind of struggle a bit, and yeah,
yeah,
now
yeah.
he
Hey,
can, yeah,
yeah,
fight.
and these we got some of these young guns are still coming up. The crazy thing is
Yeah,
like Devin Haney, for instance, he's 23,
yeah, that's
which
a
is
big
crazy.
difference. Yeah, 11 years younger. So that fight will be, if it gets made, I guess it will, because there is so much clamoring for it, and yeah, but I don't know really. It's pretty open. I mean, now it looks
Yeah,
because Lomachenko is not. I mean, no longer has the. I mean, he's not what he used to be completely. Anyway,
yeah.
I would say. So yeah, I think Haney has a chance definitely in that fight, but still, it's not like Loma cannot win that fight. It's not like that. So.
Yeah.
It's a pretty much, well, 50-50 or something like that fight. Yeah.
Yeah, probably certainly somewhere close to that. Hyphy
Yeah.
says Jermaine really came to fight last night. He did good. The event was set up for him to lose, without a doubt, in the sense that, yes, this was very much a return of Vasiliy Lomachenko event, and
Yeah.
Ortiz was the opponent. Now, he turned out to be more than an opponent. And as Hyphy mentioned, he came there to fight without a doubt. Yeah, in
Mm.
watching it, I think Jermain Ortiz, he won a lot of people over. Certainly, I'm a fan, and I want to see him moving forward. And just given what he was able to do, I think he matches up well with a lot of the lightweights that are out there. And I think that'll probably be the case as well if he moves up to 140 pounds. I'd actually like to see him with Teofimo Lopez. They seemingly have
Mm.
some similarities, not quite the same type of fighters, but size wise, they seem to be pretty much a similar size from what I could tell. And I think it'll just make for an interesting matchup. Teofimo's a little bit more explosive, at least that has been the case in the past. But Ortiz, man, he's tough and he's well rounded. He has a good mix of everything, and I think that'll prove to be a challenge and a problem for a lot of people. He reminds me not stylistically, but he's one of those sort of dark horse type opponents, like sort of how what is his name? He's at 140 pounds. His name was just in my head.
Jack
Uh,
Carroll.
no. He's I think he's a Mexican American. What is his name? Freaking A.
Mm.
I just had it. But he's a fighter that they were talking about Teofimo should face next
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
after
Wait,
his
who
fight.
was that?
Someone in the comments probably knows who I'm talking about. I know this.
Yeah.
I know the freaking guy, but I can't think of his name. Matter.
Oh,
He
yeah.
beat,
I mean, just a second. You mean this guy?
he
What's
beat
his name?
Alex
Oscar.
Salcedo. Let me see. I gotta look him up because the name is freaking throwing me out. But he beat
No,
Alex
it's not the
Zepeda.
guy that fought.
Yeah, Arnold Barboza Jr.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of that guy who fought Tank Davis and gave him a tough
Oh,
fight.
Isaac Cruz.
Yeah, Isaac Cruz.
Isaac. Isaac's a little tough action fighter, but he reminds me of in a sense in a similar space as
Barboza.
Arnold Barboza, one of those guys who's just a tough all around boxer, and he would be a problem
Hmm.
for all of the guys up the top. And I think Jermain Ortiz is one of those guys. So we'll see if he can get matched
Jermaine.
up with
Hmm.
some of those other top names at 135,
Yeah.
and hopefully that is the case. And in the case of Vasiliy Lomachenko, all indications seem to be that they're going to try to make the Devin Haney fight, which will be an undisputed lightweight championship fight.
The
We'll
big,
have the
the
two best,
biggie.
two best lightweights out there. At least they've pretty much fought their way to that position. We've had some others who've had a cup of tea there and moved on, and some who are kind of straddling the fence between lightweight and some of the other divisions. But
Hmm.
Lomachenko and Haney, they've been there, and I think this is probably one of the better matchups that can be made there, given who's in the division right now. And we've talked
Yeah.
about it for a good period, and it should be a pretty interesting matchup. Now, Haney was in the ring last night. Man, Haney's
Right.
he's really growing into his age as a young man there. At 23, man, he looked pretty big there. So
Oh yeah.
I'd agree. You see him standing next to Lomachenko. Yeah, Haney has some size to him, so I think he's going to carry 140 and 147 pretty well when he eventually moves up to those weights because it seems inevitable. But he's going to do what he
Right.
needs to do to get down to 135 for this matchup with Vasiliy Lomachenko, I'm sure. So that's the potential matchup that's coming up, and seems all roads are leading there. What do you think of that potential matchup? Devin Haney, Vasiliy Lomachenko for all the marbles.
Yeah, as I said, it's gonna be. I mean, if Lomachenko loses, that may well be his last fight. I think it will probably, because then there's no. I mean, there's nobody else. There's nothing else to win for
Yeah,
him, and yeah. So that's the one for all the marbles, as they say, and. Yeah, it will be just an exciting fight because they are very quite different fighters. Loma is more this fast, athletic, very explosive fighter, and Haney is more like this, more cautious, technical, fighter who is pretty good at counter punching and all that, and has got the skills, but he's not some kind of very explosive fighter. Maybe you
yeah,
cannot really call him that.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a very exciting stylistic matchup, I would say. And because Lomachenko is not some crude puncher, either.
Yeah,
Cannot solve Haney's boxing style. His puzzle, whatever. So he has got a pretty good chance. But at the same time, this is a really not a fight that is not all too easy or winnable for him. I would say it's not like
yeah,
yeah. So it can go either way. So and especially if the judging, if as we know from history with the judging, if it's the fight is very close, but maybe Loma wins by 1 point in reality, then it's gonna be hard for him to get that decision. As we know, it being this foreign fighter after all. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, hey, I'm with you, Devin Haney. Yeah, he's just like a great all-around fighter, one of the best young stars that is out there,
Mm,
just from an all-around skills perspective. As far as if you think
yeah.
about those guys who are gonna be in that sort of top 10 area as time goes on over here over the next several years, then Haney seems to have all the makings of that type of fighter, being only
Mm,
23 years of age, and He's
He
past
can
his
hit.
best
I
so
mean,
far.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like he doesn't have any power. He does have some power, So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. He usually gets it done via skill, so you're probably not going to see a ton of those one punch knockouts,
yeah,
though he has gotten them in the past, especially the one over Antonio Moran. I was able to catch that one live. It just so happened to be at the MGM here in the DC
yeah.
area in Oxon Hill, Maryland. So he
That's a
can
good
put
one.
together everything. Yeah, that was a good one for him right there. And
Yeah.
that showed that he has a, much like I was saying about Jermain Ortiz, Haney, he has a great mix of just pretty much everything. And the thing about it is, you can say that he's getting better. He seems to continually be getting better. And at
Mm.
23, there's still more time to grow. There's still more time to
Yeah.
grow for
That's.
him. And I think that bodes well for him. And I think that
Mm.
he's going to be regarded as far as the odds are concerned, I think he's probably going to come in as the favorite over Lomachenko when they do open
Yeah,
that
he
fight.
will. Yeah, especially since Lomachenko has been away now for a while, and now last night, as you said, he had a pretty tough time. He won, but wasn't really too convincing. I mean, not too dominant, and yeah, that's what really kind of makes him the the underdog in this fight, and at least yeah, with the betting and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Hyphy says Jermaine still has a lot of amateur in his style. His movements are very similar to Amir Khan. He gave Loma a really competitive bout. All right, good way of viewing it and listing that there. So
Amir
certainly
Khan.
that can be the
Hmm.
case for some of these guys, especially when you have a pretty solid amateur background, which he does, and then
Hmm.
especially when you start to get to that major stage, which he's done in relatively I guess quick fashion considering where he's at
And
record wise. This was like his 20th something fight, right? Let me see, or maybe less than that.
yeah, I think he
I'm trying
was
to look.
like 17 or something. Yeah.
Okay, 17-0. So yeah, he's hey, that's pretty solid to be facing
Hmm.
Lomachenko at this stage and to be able to do what he was able to do with
Hmm.
him. I think that definitely bodes well if he continues to be matched up and develops well. Then yeah, Ortiz. I
Yeah,
mean, you
that's
couldn't have asked for a better showing for him. Yeah, he's 16-1-1 now, so not bad.
important. I mean, it's important to be also managed well, as you said, and not just. I don't think if his manager just now throws him right away to another big fight against a star, that's he's not gonna be doing him any favors. So he should be managed carefully, but not too
Certainly.
carefully either, so that he just has to fight like nobody's for like 2 years or something. Yeah.
Certainly, yeah. We see what the potential is with having had this fight with Lomachenko. So hopefully he's able to take advantage of this moving forward because I'd certainly like to see him in there again. And he seems pretty level headed, like he's not the type to let the star get to him. So I think he's probably going to be one of those guys who continues to be a mainstay here in the division and when he moves up as well because he has some pretty nice size to him. So yeah, interesting matchups. That was the interesting matchup in general there, especially for me. I didn't know what the expectation would be for Ortiz. I assumed that Lomachenko was probably going to win it, but I didn't expect it to be that close, and it turned out to be very close. So, as mentioned, I'll leave with that. That Jermain Ortiz, he's a live player there in the
Mm,
division, and I think that is the
talent.
case with anyone for sure.
Mm. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
talent, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Now on the co-main event, it was Robeisy Ramirez. He beat Shakur Stevenson in the amateurs, uh, and that's why
Amazing.
Stevenson got a silver medal. I don't know if Robeisy won two medals. I think he has won two gold medals. As a
Mm.
matter of fact, in the Olympics. And man, he's solid. He's looked so good as of late. Now in this
He's
fight, man, I thought he was about to blast that dude out, Romero, who he was fighting. I think name's Romero.
He's a
Yeah.
Cuban. Yeah.
Yeah. He's man, he lost his first fight, his debut fight with Top Rank. They had a lot of hype. They hyped him up very much. But he
All
came
right.
into that fight, he was looking very as
Backfired.
yeah, as Hyphy mentioned here, he was very amateurish looking in his first fight, Robeisy Ramirez. So
It was
since
like,
then, yeah,
yeah,
you know how some of those Cuban fighters are.
yeah. And by the way, sometimes that hype gets to a fighter's mentality. Like Adonis Stevenson, he lost his first fight, to that
Yeah.
guy Darnell Boone, I think his name was,
Oh, Darnell Boone.
like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
journeyman,
yeah,
and he was like blown out because he was like brought up kind of. I mean, there was so much hype. I know I read about it, because he was
yeah.
supposed to be judged on that fight and then sign a contract or something with a big promoter. So
Oh,
he
okay.
looked terrible in that fight.
Yeah, Robeisy, yeah, he was it was kind of like that for him at least. He seemed to be still in that amateur gear when he first debuted, but since then, man, he's taken some crazy strides. In his last fight, he knocked out Abraham Nova, who was the
Yeah,
Puerto Rican
that's
fighter with that little blonde beard.
oh,
He dominated him in that fight as well. So Robeisy, man, he seemed to
oh
be the
yeah,
real deal, and he pretty
this
much
guy.
dominated this guy.
Yeah,
This fight wasn't as close as it may seem if you just look at it from it went how many ever rounds it went standpoint. It went 9 rounds, 9 of the 10 rounds, but it wasn't that close. Robeisy was pretty much dominating him, and early on, I thought Robeisy was about to knock him out, but he seemed to be content for some reason with just kind of going
just
about it the same way the entirety, which is basically coming forward. He knew that this guy wasn't going to be offering much from a boxing perspective. So Robeisy, yeah, he wasn't throwing a lot of jabs, just kind of coming in with his guard and then looking to land a big shot, which he was able to successfully do. But I think if he'd have turned it up even more early on, then he would have gotten the guy out of there earlier. But yeah, I think he has a lot of potential. Robeisy Ramirez, for those who may not know him or may not have seen him, he's as mentioned, a two-time, I believe, Olympic gold medalist out of Cuba. Man, and he looks to be the goods there. I believe it's at 126 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah,
he's passed each of his step-up fights with flying colors. And I think that he's going to be a real, yeah, it's featherweight, so he's going to be a real challenge for anyone there at featherweight,
definitely.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. Hypey says Robeisy has transitioned well into a pro and he's showing lots of consistency every fight. He's one of the better fighters in the game. Definitely agree with you there, Hypey. I think Ramirez has certainly shown that he looks to be the real deal. I tweeted that out, especially after he got that first knockdown, because man, when he puts together his punches, he's explosive, and I mean they're just so accurate that that power just comes with accuracy. So we'll
I
see.
just want to add this. I just saw a picture of this guy, Abraham Noah, for the first time. He looks really freaky, man. He looks funny with that beard,
Oh,
golden
super
beard.
Abraham Nova.
Yeah, like
Oh
he's
yeah,
got this bandana, which, yeah, it's like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
This
He
guy, it's like he came out of a comic book or something.
yeah, certainly. That's how that's how certainly yeah, he
But
stood out with that look.
he's a very tall featherweight, 5'9". Wow.
Yeah, and that's why it seemed like it was going to be a pretty solid matchup with Robeisy Ramirez. I got my dog just jumping in the mix here, but like I said, Robeisy kind of blew him out of there. He looked as best as he's looked.
Yeah,
Hyphy says my only knock on Robeisy is he's very dependent on the left hand. That was definitely what he was doing last night. It seems like that was the only thing he was trying to do, and if he
left.
hurts his left in a fight, he'll likely lose that fight. Yeah, he'll definitely have to be leery of that type
Kind
of
of,
stuff
kind of
for
like
sure.
Nunito Donaire, you might say.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, certainly. Yeah, another big left hand puncher right there for sure. But yeah, that was the case with Robeisy last night. Definitely played into what Hyphy mentioned there because that's pretty much all he was trying to do. but I think certainly he didn't respect what was coming from Romero, who definitely wasn't on his level from a boxing fundamental standpoint. But that being said, yeah, Robisi definitely is promising. So I'd like to see him in there with some other guys, and I do have a feel that he will, at least as he's looked so far, he'll rise to the level of his competition in the sense that he should he should continually look good as the competition moves up. So hopefully that is the case
Yeah,
because he's looked
hopefully, yeah.
yeah he's been
Hopefully,
pretty exciting so far.
you will not turn into another Rances Bartholomew or somebody like that.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, I think he'll definitely surpass Rances from that standpoint. Rances,
No.
who I've considered a boring fighter,
Yeah.
but
I mean, yeah,
you
he was
know.
quality for a while, but then he just, I don't know what happened. He lost it simply,
It
lost
was
the
pretty
hunger.
exciting in that fight with Gary Antoine Russell last
Oh
time
yeah,
out, and it was
I don't.
stopped a bit too early, but it was an
Hmm,
exciting fight up to that point. And I thought Rances had a pretty solid
nice.
showing because Gary was really going in on him, and Rances was like, "No, I'm not backing down from that," and he was landing some good stuff of his own. So,
Yeah.
so salute to Rances Barthélemy. Salute to him. Yeah, and then Richard Torres, who's a heavyweight prospect, he's like 4-0 now, I believe. He was fighting yesterday as
Mhm.
well, and he was what is it, a decorated amateur. That's what I was trying to get at, and he spent a lot of time there and did a lot of good work in the amateurs, built up his name. So there was some fanfare as he was getting ready to turn pro, primarily because of the fact that he was a pretty solid amateur, and now he's 6'2". I don't know weight wise, he's probably in that 220 range. I don't know off top, but he's around 6'2", and he hasn't been matched up with anyone who is going to test him to that degree thus far. I think they're going to move him pretty slow. He was knocked out by a Russian fighter, I believe, as an amateur. It was in,
All right.
I forget which year, but it was one of those, when they removed the headgear, how many ever years ago. So of course,
Mm.
but I think this Russian guy that knocked him out, he had been a pro. They started allowing pros to, join amateurs, or I guess at least fight to be an Olympian or something of that nature.
Mm.
So there was this Russian fighter who knocked him out as an amateur who had some pro experience. So now Richard Torres, as mentioned, he's 6'2". Man, he's a very aggressive fighter, especially in the early parts of fight. He comes out 100 miles per hour as far as I'm concerned. And he's definitely going to have to slow down a bit probably because he can certainly be caught if he's in there with a guy who's a little bit more polished. And thus far, we haven't seen him in there with anyone who has been a real threat. But I'd imagine they're going to move him slow. He's going to be a name there in the American heavyweight scene, and he got a stoppage last night, which was expected. He was in with the guy who was more so an MMA guy. I guess he's had some boxing experience, but then he's been
Oh
fighting
yeah.
some MMA fights as well. He's fought boxing and MMA, so he's a big, tall guy, and he's bigger than Torres, at least height wise. But
Mm.
Torres, he's a
Not.
solidly built
It's
fighter.
not Francis Ngannou, is it?
No, no, no. That would be an interesting one there. But yeah, so Torres, he got a knockout. Top Rank has really been showcasing him.
Jake Paul
We'll see
also.
how we'll see how he develops. But I guess it was worth mentioning. But for my money, of course,
No, not enough.
the heavyweight prospect to watch as far as Americans are concerned is Jared Anderson, who I think is uh, probably going to be
Oh yeah, yeah.
one of those
Jared.
top level guys. And Torres
Mm.
is just it's wait and see, of course, but he definitely got the amateur background and all that stuff. It'd just be a matter of stylistically how he continues to develop. So just worth mentioning there. Then hey, another fight that was on a zone card was JoJo Diaz. He fought
Yeah.
William Zepeda. That's
I
a
was
fight
waiting for that
with a lot of
one.
opinion. right there. And of course, it ended up being a fairly
Very,
dominant victory for William Zepeda, who is,
yeah, big surprise.
yeah, he seems to be the real deal. I mean, he has a gas tank on him, he has an engine on him, and he rattles off punches in bunches. And JoJo Diaz, who has had a knack for kind of being, I don't even know if it's a slow starter or he just doesn't throw a ton of punches at times. And he was,
Hmm. Kind of,
I guess you can say, a
kind
slow
of, how to
starter in
say it?
this one.
Yeah, he lets his foot off the gas,
Yes, and we saw some of that in this fight. So he had some
cases. Yeah.
spurts in which he would throw some combinations, and he landed some pretty decent shots on Zepeda. But as far as the race in itself, or if this were a race, then we're talking tortoise versus the hare, in a sense, as far as how William Zepeda was fighting,
Mm.
because he's a guy with a gas tank that is built for the later rounds, and I think that JoJo Diaz kind of had his moments where he was just kind of lulling himself to sleep, I guess you could say, just looking to land a big shot. And Zepeda took advantage, and he just kept blasting it. It was a dominant win for him. I don't know if you're able to catch any of it, but I will say that I would certainly like to see William Zepeda in there again and matched up with some of the
Yeah,
other top guys in or around 100 and I believe this was 35. This might have been 135. I think
yeah,
he
it
had
was
moved up.
actually.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he's
I
another
was.
name that's out there.
Yeah, no, I just saw. I think I saw some kind of highlights. I think here from William Zepeda. That's right. Yeah, that's right. There was highlights that I watched on the zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like I was. Yeah, I mean, definitely Diaz was. Jojo Diaz was just dominated in that fight. And when I saw the scorecards first, when I got up, what I do always first check the the results, and I was like, "What? He lost by that much? Wow!" I was like, "How could he lose like that?" But then I thought, since Zepeda is not really that well known, I guess that was probably just, because he has no judges have no reason to be on his side, like
Yeah. Yeah.
preferential and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Zepeda looked good, man.
yeah,
He's gonna be a problem, just given his output. He just
mm,
seems to be a fighter with a gas tank on him, and he doesn't stop throwing. And his punches they do damage. Diaz was busted up a bit, swollen, and all of that stuff. So
mm.
that ultimately, yeah, I mean, there really wasn't much that Diaz could
He's
do
also
actually.
tall, for it. Also for the division, he's tall, 5'9".
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. So, shout out to William Zepeda in that sense. I think he's a player there. Another Mexican fighter who is one to watch for sure, and I think his star will continue to build as long as he's put in matchups where the public can see him do his thing, and he rose to the occasion there. And I think we'll continue to see him do his thing, and I'd like to see
I
him again,
wonder.
of course.
Yeah, I wonder if he's related to Jose Zepeda. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's why when I first saw this matchup mentioned, yeah, that was the name I thought of immediately when I saw Zepeda, Jose Zepeda. Wow, so
Yeah,
Diaz is
me too.
going up there. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's one of those funny things. Oh, Chon Zepeda, but yeah, good showing for him. And Hyphy mentions Jalolov. I think I may be saying that right. Jalolov
Luis,
slept
Luis.
Torres in the IBAs,
So,
put his ass to sleep with a one hitter quitter. So that was who knocked out Richard Torres when he was an amateur.
yeah,
So
Bakudir. He's an Uzbek, really big, wow, 6'7"
oh wow,
fighter.
yeah, he's a big guy,
Oh,
tall guy.
huge,
Yeah,
yeah. Bakudir.
yeah.
11
So
and 0 with 11 knockouts. Not
okay,
bad.
so he faced Richard Torres, the American heavyweight in the amateurs, and
Mm,
he knocked him out. So hey, a lot of guys are that height these days, at least fighting in the heavyweight division or around there.
yeah,
Hey, but that being said, you can have success even if you're not that height. Look at Alexander Usyk at 6'3". Torres is probably a
Yeah,
little bit shorter than Usyk. He's listed at 6'2", maybe.
yeah. You got Andy Ruiz, who is maybe
Oh
not
yeah,
even 6'2", that he's listed as,
yeah,
and he's done pretty well, of course.
yeah. Certainly, certainly. So yeah, there is potential there. So Torres, yeah, just to be a matter of how they continue to bring him up because, as mentioned, he definitely has some. He'll have to develop as a pro because he still goes in
Mm,
there looking to blast his opponent right there in the first round early, and
yeah.
maybe some of that is just because he knows he's in there with, but who knows? It could be other things as well. So, but yeah, we'll see
That
how he
would
does.
be, it would have be nice to get another, Latin American heavyweight champion. I believe there was only John Reese, right, until now. Only he has been champion, I believe, right? Yeah.
As far as Mexican Americans.
Yeah, or I mean, in general, Latin Americans.
Oh yeah, because I remember um Areola was trying for it, came
Yeah,
up
he
short.
was like
I
the
do
big,
remember that piece of it.
the
Yeah, and
big
it didn't.
hype.
Yeah, it didn't
Mm,
quite work out for him there and got
no.
dominated.
Oh yeah, that's right, Andy Ruiz.
Oh
He
yeah,
was
Ruiz.
champion. He was,
Yeah, that
yeah,
is
that's
right.
right.
That is right.
He's he's the second one, yeah.
Yeah, you're
So,
right. You're right. It is. Yeah, Andy Ruiz.
and
Yeah, the
his
most recent.
victory was even bigger than Ruiz. Ruiz beat Holyfield. That was a Holyfield that was already on the slide. You might say on
Oh yeah,
points. And this guy
yeah,
took apart this giant that was kind of considered the best heavyweight on the planet. Anthony Joshua, of course.
yeah. He did. He did. Dramatic
Yeah,
fashion spoiled his U.S. debut in
yeah.
a
What
major
a
way.
bad
He certainly,
debut that was.
he definitely spoiled that. So, uh,
I
shout
think
out to
Eddie
Andy
Hearn.
Ruiz.
I was like saying, well, how did Eddie Hearn look when that happened? It was like
Oh
this.
yeah, he looked like so much money just walked out the
Yeah,
door. Like what the
you're
hell?
like
He was like, you know
taking
what? We should have
pills.
pushed this fight back
Yeah,
with whomever. I forget who was gonna fight, but oh yeah, I think it was that big baby cat, right? Big baby uh
Miller,
Miller when
Gerald.
he
Yeah,
popped on the test.
yeah, that's a shame. I would like to have seen that fight with Joshua and him. Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, Miller's popped on so many tests, but now he's back. You know, he fought recently.
Mm,
I think he won. I didn't
big,
see it.
strong bull guy. Really, he looks so strong,
Yeah, he would be
man.
over 300 pounds in some fights.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
well, like one of these, wrestlers. So yeah,
yeah. Or like a football player, football
yeah,
offensive lineman or something.
yeah.
Basically, because he was, I
Mm,
think he's only like 6'2" ish or 6'3", maybe if that. So
it's
yeah,
like
he's just a big dude.
he doesn't even need to know boxing. He just can hit you on the head, like how do you call the head, butt you, and you are just gone.
Yeah, certainly, certainly. But yeah, so yeah, that was another big one, and then Alex
One more.
Rocha looked pretty good on that. Then I guess the last one, I guess we can talk about it, is Jake Paul versus
Oh, yeah.
Anderson Silva. Now I was able to catch some of that, and
That's full boxing, full fake boxing.
yeah. Now Anderson Silva was looking decent at moments, and yeah, I think you
I saw
prevailed in
that.
that one.
Yeah, he got dropped, right? Because I saw that
Yeah, in the
Paul
final round.
posted. Yeah, he posted that kind of clip of him dropping Anderson, but he lasted until it was 4 rounds, so right, some
Yeah,
six, six maybe or four. How many?
yeah, yeah. It was 8. I think it was 8
Eight.
actually. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And yeah, he
Oh,
got dropped in the 8th round. But Anderson, he's almost 50, so he looked pretty good for being almost
yeah.
50. Of course, in there with a young,
And Jake
youthful
was like,
guy who it's getting better, I guess you can say, as he's continuing to develop. Seems to be really focusing on it. But yeah, we still haven't seen him in there with an actual boxer, and
Mm.
I don't even think Tommy Fury would count in that sense. But that being
Well, I
said,
think
he's doing his thing.
Fury is now too small for him. He's a light heavyweight, right? So this guy
Yeah,
cruiserweight, so
yeah,
he
they fought
could
at
make
186.
right.
This yeah, they fought
Yeah,
at 186 pounds.
I
So this
guess
was,
Tommy
I think, the
could.
lowest Paul was being since he's been doing these fights.
Yeah, I mean Tommy could have made. I mean, put on some more weight, but I don't. He'd still be the smaller guy physically. I think. Yeah,
Yeah, without a doubt. But yeah, we'll see what happens with them next. But yeah, I
I
guess that
don't
was
really
worth the
like
mention.
Tommy. Tommy Fury. I don't
Yeah,
like.
yeah. I guess that was worth the mention, but I just wanted to throw that out there for sure. But man, we went a little bit over our hour in 10-minute marker there, Boz. But hey,
Yeah.
it's all
Well,
good.
that's all right. Yeah, it's just as long as we don't go like the full movie length, like an hour and a half. It's all right.
Yeah. No doubt about. So we're about to get up out of here. As a matter of fact, I'm going over the fight night scores. We're going to be live scoring the Rumble in the
Mm.
Jungle, Ali Foreman, which happened
Have
back
you
in '70s or something like that.
remember to turn your clock back? It's like winter time now.
Oh yeah, that already happened for us a little while back.
All right, you do
yeah,
it
yeah,
before we. Oh, nice.
yeah. We do it a little bit before. That's how it ended up being. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's so typical. You have to be first in everything.
yeah, no, yeah. They should stop
Yeah.
doing it because well, they should leave it at this sort of fall back. I like it like this.
Yeah. I think here
Whatever.
they were like talking about not doing it anymore, but it just keeps going on.
Yeah, they're in some type of situation like that here as well. We'll see if that's
You know
actually the
what?
case.
I have found out actually this guy who lives in Colombia that I followed before on YouTube. He said they don't have that. They just have one time for everything, like no
Oh
summer
yeah,
or winter. Because down there it's always summer anyway. you know, I mean the climate is like tropical and stuff.
yeah. That is pretty interesting. I will say pretty darn
Bruce
interesting.
Bruce is celebrating his birthday. It seems
Oh yeah.
nice. You're 3 years older than I am. I'm gonna be 45 soon in December.
Oh yeah. You see that
Mm.
there? Okay. Oh, 48 years ago today. Okay. Yeah.
Ago,
48 years ago. Oh
what
yeah.
happened then?
Oh, Rumble in the Jungle. Rumble in the
All
Jungle.
right, I thought he was saying he's 48 years today. All right, I didn't say it's see ago, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Bruce is still 48. Definitely 48 in spirit, holding it down there, Bruce. But man, Bruce Gaz, we should have checked him out, folks. Good stuff.
that means that he's old. All right, 67. All right, nice,
Hey,
nice.
you're young, spry 67 there, Bruce. Keep doing the
Yeah.
thing, man. Keep doing the thing.
I still dress like I'm like 20, 25. I
no, I
refuse
feel
to
you.
dress, like some,
Hey,
serious middle-aged guy.
you gotta live it up, man. Live it up in
Yeah,
life. That's the way
leave
to
it up.
go.
Leave
But
it up.
certainly, man, we appreciate you all being here. Shout out Bruce, Hyphy, Bamam, Martin, Boz, all of that good stuff. We're gonna head over to Fight Night scores to score this thriller, or no,
Soon.
Rumble in the Jungle, which was another one of the classic
Rumble.
Ali fights, of course, Foreman as well. So be sure to check that out. Matter of fact, if I can send everyone over there, I will. But we're gonna jump into that thing. But definitely thanks, Boz. Be sure to hit up Boz Ajanovic. He's gonna be tagged in the title, so you'll know where he's at. But appreciate you all jumping in here, and we're certainly gonna catch you on the next one.
Yep. See you. Bye bye.